This is a true story, and it shows why you don't mess with God. Some words are said without thinking. Others are said laughing, but not all of them disappear afterward. This true story isn't about punishment. It's about memory. It's about conscience. And it's about something we all do, but few admit, playing with sacred things, thinking there are no consequences. His name doesn't matter. It could be John. It could be Peter. It could be you. It could be any one of us. What matters isn't who he was, but who he became, and what he learned along the way. He was always known for his good humor. He was the kind of person who brightened any room. When he arrived, people smiled. Not because he was famous, not because he was rich, but because he had the gift of making others laugh. He was the kind of person who made jokes in any situation, even when the environment called for respect, even when the moment was delicate. For him, laughing was a way to protect himself, an invisible armor against the seriousness of life, and also to stand out, to be remembered, to be loved. At family gatherings, he was the center of attention. At work meetings, he broke the ice. At weekend barbecues, he livened up the group. Even in more serious moments like funerals or hospitals, he found a way to bring lightness. "It's better to laugh than to cry," he would say. And people agreed, because in a way, he was right. But there was something he didn't realize, something that went unnoticed by everyone around him. He had no limits. There was no subject too sacred for a joke. There was no topic too serious for a witty comment. And, little by little, this became a problem. Not for others, but for himself. When someone talked about God, faith, or spirituality, he didn't confront them. He wasn't aggressive. He wasn't one of those who discuss religion angrily. He simply joked. He made quick comments, smiles, looks of complicity, as if to say, "I know you take this seriously, but I don't need to." Nothing aggressive, nothing offensive, apparently. He didn't ridicule people. He didn't mock other people's faith, but he didn't completely respect it either. For him, faith was for weak people. Prayer was for those who had no control over their own lives. Church was for those who needed emotional comfort. He didn't need any of that, or at least that's what he thought. The people around him didn't confront him, because he was well-liked, because he was funny, and because, deep down, many thought the same way. So, when he uttered a phrase about prayer or made a joke about miracles, people laughed, or they remained silent. But nobody said anything, and he interpreted this silence as approval, as if to say, "See, they think so too." But silence isn't always agreement. Sometimes it's just respect, or discomfort. On one specific occasion, during a quiet conversation, everything changed. Not dramatically, not with thunder or signs, but subtly, in the way that the most important things usually happen. It was a Sunday afternoon. The family was gathered. Coffee brewed, cake on the table, children playing in the yard. That kind of ordinary moment that we don't value when we have it. Someone, his aunt, mentioned that she was going through difficulties, health problems, financial issues, worries about her children. And she said, sincerely, "But I've been praying a lot, and I know God will help me." He was sitting there, listening, and without thinking much, he said, if prayer solved everything, nobody would go through hardship. The table was silent for a few seconds. Some laughed nervously. Others looked away. His aunt gave an awkward smile and changed the subject. He noticed the reaction, but he didn't care. For him, it was just a phrase, a logical observation, a truth that nobody wanted to admit. He took another sip of coffee. He went back to talking about soccer, and the afternoon continued normally. But that phrase didn't disappear. It was said. It was heard. And without him knowing, it was recorded, not just in the memory of others, but somewhere inside himself. The days passed. Weeks. Months. Life went on as normal. Work. Family. Commitments. Fun. He remained the same. Funny. Beloved. Good-humored. Making jokes. Taking life lightly. But something began to change. Not from the outside in, but from the inside out. Small things. Situations that, before he would easily resolve, began to get complicated. First, it was work. An opportunity that seemed certain simply didn't happen. Then it was his health. Nothing serious, but bothersome, persistent, unexplained pains, constant fatigue, tests that showed nothing wrong, but he knew something wasn't right. Then came the family issues. Arguments, estrangements, misunderstandings. Nothing catastrophic, but enough to make him restless. He tried to solve everything alone, as he always did. After all, he was the guy who had control over his own life. The guy who didn't need anything or anyone. But for the first time, he felt he was losing that control. And that scared him. And that's when it began. The echo. In moments of silence alone, that phrase began to return. If prayer solved everything, no one would go through hardship. He was driving. The phrase appeared. He was trying to sleep. It came back. He was in the shower. There it was. At first, he ignored it. It's just a random memory, he thought. But the phrase wouldn't disappear. It persisted, like a song stuck in your head, like a memory that doesn't want to go away. He tried to push it away. He played loud music in the car. He distracted himself with series, social media, anything. But in moments of silence, there it was again. If prayer solved everything. It wasn't an accusation. It wasn't a voice saying you were wrong. It was just the phrase, coming back, echoing, as if it had a life of its own. One day, desperate, he decided to try. Not because he believed, but because he had nothing left to lose. He closed the bedroom door. He sat on the edge of the bed, and he tried to pray, but the words wouldn't come out. He didn't know what to say. He didn't know how to begin. God. He tried, but the word got stuck in his throat, as if something was preventing him from continuing. It wasn't fear. It wasn't shame. It was a blockage. A blockage he himself had created. Years of jokes, years of disbelief, years of subtle mockery. All of that had built an invisible wall. And now, when he needed to cross it, it was too solid. He gave up, not in anger, but with deep sadness. Because for the first time in his life, he realized he had lost something. Something he never knew he had. There was no voice from heaven. There was no sign. There was no miracle. There was only awareness. And awareness, when awakened, doesn't shout. It whispers. He began to review everything he had said over the years. Not only about God, but about life, about people, about himself. He understood that words have weight, even when said laughing, even when they seem harmless, because words don't disappear into thin air. They enter the mind. They shape thoughts. They create realities. He had played with something sacred, not because he wanted to offend, but because he thought he could, because he thought he was too smart to need faith, too strong to need help, too controlled to need prayer. And now, when he needed it, he discovered that he had shut himself off, not as divine punishment, but by his own words. He didn't become a religious fanatic. He didn't start preaching in the streets. He didn't become a pastor or a missionary. But something changed. Profoundly. He began to choose his words better, to think before making jokes, to respect what is sacred to others, even if it wasn't to him. When someone mentioned prayer, he no longer laughed. When someone spoke of faith, he listened in silence. When someone shared a difficulty and said they were praying, he simply replied, "I hope things get better." It wasn't falsehood. It was respect. Respect for something he had underestimated, and which he now understood to be greater than he imagined. Today, he remains a good-humored person. He continues to make people laugh. He continues to bring lightness to environments. But there is a difference. He chooses his words more carefully, because he learned silently that not every joke is forgotten, and that some words, even light ones, remain, not as an accusation, but as a memory, as an echo, as a lesson. He learned that there are things in life that shouldn't be joked about, not because someone forbade him, but because This story doesn't end with a miracle. It doesn't end with a dramatic conversion. It ends with awareness. And perhaps that's more powerful, because it's not God who punishes us for the words we say. It's ourselves. When we block what is sacred, we don't block God. We block our own ability to access Him. So think, what words have you been saying? What jokes have you been making? What have you been frivolous about? Because one day, when you need what you mocked, it may be too late. Not because God has turned away, but because you yourself have turned away. You don't joke with God, not because He is vengeful, but because He is real. And what is real deserves respect. If you've made it this far, thank you. Thank you for dedicating these minutes of your life to listening to this story. Thank you for opening your heart to reflect on something you may never have thought about before. If this story touched you in any way, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave your comment below telling us what you felt. And if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe now and activate the bell. Because every week I bring real stories like this one. Stories that transform, that teach, that make us stop and think. May God bless your life, and may you never forget. Some lessons we only learn when we stop to listen. Until the next video.